What's going on, everybody? Justin Fensterman back with you with another fantasy football stock watch report here on fantasyalarm.com as we head to championship week for most of us, week 16 of our fantasy football season. Don't stop grinding. Keep pushing. You're almost there. Let's win those titles in 2020 by going over some of the players trending up and down when it comes to the current state of fantasy football. Starting with players on the upswing, let's go with David Montgomery. Since the Bears bye week in week 11, Montgomery has been one of the most reliable running backs in fantasy football. Not an exaggeration. In his last 4 games, he rushed for over 100 yards in 3 of them. He has also scored 6 touchdowns during that span. 6. The matchup couldn't be any more ideal for him entering week 16. He has the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are one of the worst teams at stopping the run in the league. Even though he was targeted just twice in the passing game on Sunday, prior to that, Montgomery caught 3 passes in his previous 3 games. As much as it can be hard to trust a quarterback like Mitchell Trubisky, it will be very hard for him to screw it up for Montgomery, who has one of the best matchups for any running back in championship week. Next up, Calvin Ridley. While for certain players like Russell Gage, whether or not it's worth taking the flyer is contingent on the health of Julio Jones. It's not like that for Ridley, and it's very encouraging with Matt Ryan coming off of such a strong performance versus Tampa Bay. Ridley has received no fewer than 9 targets since week 9. He's posted 100 plus receiving yard games in his last 3, and he has caught touchdown passes in 3 of his last 4. He has the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs up next, and there should be a lot of points scored in that matchup, and even if Julio Jones plays, Calvin Ridley still has a very high ceiling for this one. Final player trending up, Brandon Aiyuk. Even though Nick Mullins is out, Aiyuk should still have a safe floor with CJ Beathard under center. Even if George Kittle manages to make his way back, you could still have confidence in starting Aiyuk. The run game is banged up and Deebo Samuel is out of the way. Aiyuk has 19 receptions on 29 targets collectively in his last 2 games. In fact, he's received double-digit targets in 4 of his last 5 games. The Cardinals have struggled against opposing wide receivers, and if anything, the 49ers will continue to force-feed Aiyuk the ball. He's hit the end zone in 5, that's right, 5 of his last 7 games. There aren't a lot of other healthy options there in San Francisco. Now for players trending down, let's start with James Conner. It's a risk and a big one for week 16 if he is in fact active. If you somehow survived week 15 and you didn't have any backup options for Conner, whose status was hanging in the balance heading into Monday Night Football, you got lucky, and you shouldn't tempt fate twice unless absolutely desperate. We don't know yet if Conner will be back playing in week 16, but even if he is, how can you start him with confidence? You just simply can't. In his last 6 games, he rushed for at least 4 yards per carry in just 2 of them. Yikes! Conner hasn't rushed in a touchdown since week 8. Yikes! And he's barely been used in the passing game. Also yikes. They've schemed away from him in the second half of the season. Plus, the matchup is just plain horrible for Conner going up against the Colts. If you're rolling with him in your championship week, good luck. Next up, Mike Williams. Williams is another player who, if you started him in week 15, you were playing with fire. He wasn't supposed to play originally. And he's very boom or bust and is a dangerous option to now trust in your championship. Williams hasn't caught more than 4 passes since week 9. He has just 4 touchdowns on the year. He's been a single-digit fantasy producer for a few weeks as of late. Tyron Johnson scored in his last 2 weeks, and he is starting to be prioritized a bit more than Williams. We can't rely on touchdowns from him, and even though Justin Herbert can hit him deep, other options have made for more competition for targets, and especially if Keenan Allen is fully healthy. Final player trending down, Jerry Jeudy. Jeudy has seen a massive drop-off in targets since the middle weeks of the season. Since week 12, the most amount of times he's been targeted has been 4. That's it, 4. Drew Lock doesn't look good, and he's clearly playing through pain, and Jeudy has just scored 2 touchdowns on the year. While the Chargers are poorly coached overall, they haven't been the worst at defending receivers. It's hard to put any trust into the Broncos wide receivers at this point. Jeudy has hit the 4 reception mark just once in his last 6 games. all bad signs, and he certainly has a very unsafe floor. Despite the athleticism we've seen from him throughout the year, the points haven't been there at all lately. That is your Stock Watch, Fantasy Alarm Nation. Like I said, keep the pedal to the metal, keep that grind strong. Get with us if you need any help. Our chats are always open for you. Let's all win those titles together because, as I always say, a family that sticks together wins together. Good luck and dominate.